Scripture reading this morning will be taken from the book of John, the 2nd chapter, reading verses 1 through 11. John chapter 2. And on the third day there was a wedding in Cana of Galilee, and the mother of Jesus was there. And Jesus also was invited and his disciples to the wedding. And when the wine gave out, the mother of Jesus said to them, "They have no wine." And Jesus said to her, "Woman, what do I have to do with you? My hour has not yet come." His mother said to the servants, "Whatever he says to you, do it." Now there were 6 stone water pots set there for the Jewish custom of purification, containing 20 or 30 gallons each. Jesus said to them, "Fill the water pots with water." And they filled them up to the brim. And he said to them, "Draw some out now and take it to the head waiter." And they took it to him. And when the head waiter tasted the water, which had become wine, and did not know where it came from, but the servants who had drawn the water knew, the head waiter called the bridegroom and said to him, "Every man serves the good wine first, and when men have drunk freely, then that which is poorer. You have kept the good wine until now." This beginning of his signs Jesus did in Cana of Galilee, and manifested his glory, and his disciples believed in him.
It's good to be here this morning. It's good to have the number we have in our audience today. And we hope that you'll be back tonight. Our lesson tonight is going to be on several things that we want to try because it's good for us. It's one that others kind of came up with, and so we'll see how it goes. If you want to see how it goes, be here tonight. And I think it'll be beneficial to you to be here. You always have to watch what, it's always important. Okay, learn the lesson. Read the card before you get up here. I learned it the hard way. I started reading one time out loud, and, "Dear Bill, you are ugly." Not really. Well, I didn't read the card. I don't know about being ugly. But anyway. And I was, Randy does such a good job in picking the songs and everything, but I was disappointed a little bit today because of the fact I kept hearing Johnny Cash sing, "He turned the water into wine." So I know, we might sing that, but that wasn't in our song book. That's what we're going to talk about today in this lesson. We want to begin our study on the miracles of Jesus. The miracles of Jesus. And we'll talk about what is a miracle, what's their purpose, and then we're going to talk about several different miracles of Jesus. I decided I better hurry up and get this in. Dwayne did an excellent lesson the other night on one of the miracles of Jesus. Happened to be one of my favorites. And we had another lesson on one of the miracles of Jesus. That happened to be my favorite that Chip used in the devotional. And so I thought, man, if I want to get in my favorites in, I got to get started. But I decided today to start with the first one. We'll talk about that. But the theme of this study is found in the last part of the Gospel of John. John chapter 21, beginning at verse 24 and going through verse 25. And John said, "This is the disciple who testifies of these things and wrote these things, and we know the testimony is true." Well, how did they know the testimony was true? Well, because of this sentence. And there are many other things that Jesus did, which if they were written one by one, I suppose that even the world itself could not contain the books that are written therein. And so today, as we think about this lesson, As we introduce this idea of the miracles of Jesus, I think it's important that we understand the theme of this study and the reason we have some of the miracles talked about in this lesson. Some of the miracles that you don't read about in the other gospel, like the one we're studying this morning, is that John had a purpose. And his purpose was to prove that Jesus Christ was the Son of God. Kind of blows your mind, doesn't it? That in the 3 years of the ministry of Jesus, the 3 years of the ministry of Jesus, that you have him doing so many things that if they were written down one by one, the world could not contain them. Of course, if you read some of the extra biblical things or books that some people think are in the Bible, there's one that talks about the early youth of Jesus, and they talk about the time that Jesus picked up a dead bird and gave it life again, but I don't think those are extra biblical books for a reason, because they're really not in the canon. But John is just saying, look, here are the things that Jesus did. And if I took time to write them one by one, then, the world, you just don't have enough bookshelves and stuff for them to be contained. And so this is going to be our theme of the study today. Well, we began our study today with some introductory matters. We asked number one, what is a miracle? What is a miracle? Baker's Dictionary of the Bible defines a miracle as an event in the external world brought about by the immediate agency or simple volition of God. Think of what it says. Number one, it is an event. And what we're going to read today was an event. The calming of the sea was an event. The healing of the lepers was an event. It's an event in the external world. It's one that we can see. And then it's brought about, and notice the word there, the immediate agency. A lot of times people say, well, I've performed miracles, but is this going to take a while to happen? There were maybe a couple of miracles of that concept in the Bible, but most of the miracles that Jesus performed were immediate. They happened very quickly. And then you had the idea that it comes by the simple volition or the simple will of God. That's one definition of a miracle. Another definition of a miracle from Merriam-Webster is this: an extraordinary event manifesting divine intervention in human events that all then cut and paste over with. But the idea is that a miracle is an extraordinary event manifesting divine intervention in the human lives of men. In other words, something happens out of the ordinary, extraordinary. And then it carries with it the idea that God intervened. Some other introductory thoughts about miracles as we move on. Number one, are there miracles today? That's something we need to think about. Are there miracles today? Well, I guess the best way to answer is this: not that man does. Because when the completed Word of God came, the part was done away with. We need to go to the book of 1 Corinthians, the 13th chapter, and look at verse 8 through 10. As Paul is summing up this great chapter of love, he said, love never fails. But whether there be prophecies, they shall fail. Whether there be tongues, they shall cease. Whether there is knowledge, it shall vanish away. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. But when that which is perfect has come, then that which is in part shall be done away. The perfect there is the completed will of God. The context goes on to show when I was a child, I spake as a child, I thought as a child, I understood as a child. But when I grew up, then he knew what was going on. And so the perfect there is the completed will of God. Why was the purpose of prophecy? Well, it was confirm the word, but remember the prophecy was also carried with it the agent of teaching the word. And he said prophecies will fail. Well, what does that mean? Well, the miraculous endowment of a preacher or teacher to where he knows exactly what he's going to say without studying it, they're going to cease. Tongues are going to cease. And then the knowledge that is given, that is miraculous and measured. In other words, you don't study something and God puts it in your head and you speak it. And they had that in the first century. They're going to say, how many of us would like to have that gift today? We're going to take a test, or we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and we don't know it. Man, God puts it in our head. A lot of people might have flunked out of college waiting on that to happen. But anyway, it's the idea is that these things are in part, they'll be done away with. And so as far as man doing a miracle, we can't do those. So we ask the question again, are there miracles today? And the answer is, I'm going to say yes, there's still miracles today. God still has the power to act in miraculous ways. The question is, if not, why pray? You ever thought about that? We go around and say, there's no miracles today. We need to be careful about that. You can't do a miracle. I can't do a miracle. Marshall Connor, one of my mentors that I was raised up under at Osceola, Arkansas. And that really inspired me to preach and encouraged me to preach. I wanted to be a preacher since I was about 3 years old, for whatever reason. But anyway, this idea that he helped me and mentored me. I remember him saying, I'd go around to people and say, well, if you believe there's miracles today, let's go down to the hospital, go to the first bed, you heal the first one, and I'll heal the second one. And then Marshall would go on like that, and he would say, look, let's go out to the cemetery. If you raise the first dead person, I'll raise the second one. And Marshall Connor had never had anybody take me up on that. Well, there are not miracles that we do, but there's miracles that God do. Folks, we pray for people to get sick. We shouldn't pray for them that get sick. But we'll pray for people that get well. And sometimes against all medical odds, what happens? They survive. And even doctors will say, that's a miracle. Well, if it is, and sometimes it may be, it's a miracle that God has done. And so are there miracles today? Not that man does, but what God does. And I think that's very important. Some more introductory thoughts concerning miracles. And that is the question, what is the purpose of miracles? What is the purpose of miracles? What's their design? Why are they there? Well, miracles, both in the Old Testament and the New Testament, were meant to confirm the Word. And they proved that those who taught the Word were receiving their message from God. Remember the Old Testament said, if a person comes and says so-and-so, if it doesn't come to pass, don't listen to it. And then, find the false prophets. And if what they prophesied doesn't come to pass, a lot of times they stone that false prophet. Because the idea was, if he's really a prophet of God, what he says will come to pass. Why was Moses given the miracles to do to prove that he was God's spokesman? To confirm that Moses was speaking the word of God to Pharaoh. And so it's very important for us to understand the purpose of miracles. In fact, miracles prove that Jesus was from God. A verse that proves this, or testifies to this fact, is found over in John chapter 9 and verse 33. And you see in the outline that I gave that I have a little disclaimer there that the man who said this was uninspired. And he was uninspired. It was the man that had been blind that now could see. But even though he was uninspired, John included this, and the man was right in what he said as he was arguing with the Pharisees about the fact that Jesus had to be from God. Why? Because he said if he's not from God, he could do nothing. Here was a man that was born blind all of his life. Nothing like this had ever been done to what people said. And now he could see. He could see and he reasoned. And this is what he's doing in this verse, in verse 33. If a man is not from God, he can do what? He can do nothing. And so that is the purpose of the miracles, was to confirm that Jesus was from God. It's what John meant when he said many other signs did Jesus in the presence of the disciples. Well, why did he do those? That they might know that the testimony was true. Well, let's talk about then the first miracle, and that was the turning of water into wine. This took place at Cana of Galilee, about 8 miles from Nazareth, where Jesus was probably living at this time. A wedding feast, as you'll see as we go through, was a 7-day event. In fact, in most Jewish weddings, the marriage did not take place until the 7th day. And so here you have this wedding feast that they were attending. It must have been close family because Jesus' mother was there. And Jesus was there as well. A lot of people, they'll go to one or two things usually. They'll go to weddings or they'll go to funerals. May not see somebody in a long time, but somebody gets married, a lot of people will come to the wedding. Somebody dies, a lot of people will come to the funeral. And so here was a special occasion. It was a wedding. It was a good day. And the family and friends were gathered together. Perhaps one of the first questions ever asked about turning water into wine was this: was it fermented? Was it fermented? Depends on who you read. But the answer that I'm going to give, based on what I've read this week and times past, is probably not. Because of the fact, wine at weddings, especially Jewish weddings, was usually watered down to make it last the entire 7-day feast. Remember, we're living in different times. We're living in times where you got to have grapes, where if it was fermented, it had to go through the fermented process, and things of this nature. Wine could go bad, and things of this nature. And so this was probably something that they really had to look at and really had to do. And by the way, one of the greatest mistakes you could do at a wedding feast was to run out of wine. Whoever it was that gave this feast, if it had gotten around that they had run out of wine, he would have been a laughingstock. No matter what he did through the rest of his life, when they talked about John Smith, and I know that's not a good Jewish name, but when they talked about John Smith or John Doe, oh yes, he's the one that lived in Cana. And you know he ran out of wine at the wedding feast. And so it's a big deal. And so to keep that from happening, a lot of times what they did is they would come and they would dilute this wine down with water to make it last. And then, since this was a Jewish wedding, by the way, this was both Gentile, Greek, and Jewish weddings. Since this was a Jewish wedding, much care would have been used to keep the water used to keep the wine from being intoxicated. And so, or intoxicating. Inez is marking that as I speak. But anyway, I'm trying to proofread more. I wrote an email the other day about Sherry Cabinet's surgery coming up, and I read it, and I thought, it was in there when I typed it. I guess it was in my brain. And what was happening then is I was listening to the sermon off our website. If you missed the sermon, a lot of them are on there, and I don't know if I was half asleep or not. But anyway, I was listening to my sermon, by the way. But I missed this. And so we asked the question, the Jews would not have fermented, call it, probably served fermented wine, and would do more water dilution to keep this from happening. And again, was it fermented? Two observations before we move on. Number one, it was at the end of a 7-day feast. And it was observed when Jesus had performed the miracle that the best wine had been served to the end. The question is obvious. If it was fermented wine and they had been served for 7 days, would they have known it was the best wine? The only hard liquor I ever had was a hot toddy. And it sure did feel good once it went down. But from what I see on TV, probably if you are intoxicated, you've been drinking for 7 days, hard liquor or intoxicating wine, you probably can't tell whether it's good or bad. And then the other observation. This is not the most important thing about this miracle. Sometimes we get hung up on the little things, but in case you had that question, it's been answered. Well, let's look at some lessons from this miracle. Look at some lessons from this miracle. We first of all learn a lesson from Mary. Well, no, we've learned a lesson from the man that gave the feast. Be prepared for the feast. Now we're having youth devo tonight after church. And instead of at Randy and Tammy's house like the schedule, it's back here in the building. They're having pizza. I already put my order in, and it said that it'll be there. Tessa's already put her order in. I think you're going to get what you want, Tessa. And I tried to tell you to put, Jim Case put his order in and others, but we kind of stopped. We won't do that to Randy and Tammy. But anyway, they're going to be ready tonight because they don't want to be embarrassed. They're going to buy more than one pizza. They don't want to be embarrassed. Be prepared for the feast because it is a major embarrassment to run out of wine. What was the lesson for us? When we're given a task, be prepared to do it. When we're given something to do, be prepared to do it. Let's be prepared. Let's be ready. Let's do our homework. Let's get what we need. You know, we're told to teach. Are we prepared to do it? If someone came up and asked us, what should you do to be saved? Would we be able to answer them? Or why don't you do this? Or why don't you do that? Would we be able to answer them? A lot of times we're embarrassed. But what we need to do is be prepared for the task at hand. The next lesson we learn from Mary, and it's this: be proactive like Mary and call on people to take care of a situation that needs some attention. Since the feast lasted about 7 days, and since it was 8 miles from Nazareth, you know, today we'd jump in the car and run down to the house, and then we'd come back. Jump in the car, run down to the feast, get done with the day's activity, jump in the car, run back, spend the night, come back the next day. They probably didn't do that. 8 miles away, best way to get there was to walking. And so this would have been a lot of travel. 16 miles a day, walking. Anybody want to walk 16 miles a day? Take off. Because I don't want to walk 16 miles a day. But here's the idea. They stayed at the feast. Now it said that the women's quarters, the women's tent, if you will, would have been next to where the wine and the things of the feast were kept and prepared. There may be some reasoning in that, but probably, if this was the case, Mary could have been there and overheard. We've run out of wine. What are we going to do? And so Mary was proactive. She didn't look at the old guy and say, dummy, he run out of wine. She was proactive. We need to do something. Maybe she thought, we need to do something to save this man from embarrassment. And so the lesson from this is, when we see something that needs our attention, be like Mary. Be proactive. Either take care of it yourself or find somebody that can do it. Find somebody. Isn't it amazing? A lot of times we'll know, this needs to be done. We'll hear about so-and-so needs this done, so-and-so needs that done. And that's all we do. I mean, aren't we that way? So-and-so needs this done, so-and-so, or this needs to be done. And we don't do anything about it. You ever seen a piece of trash laying on the floor? So somebody needs to pick that up and walk right on by. I have. Don't make a habit of it, but I have. That's where we are sometimes. Be proactive. Do something about it. Then we have a lesson to learn from Jesus. And that is, be willing to act if needed, even if the time is not right, as was the case with Jesus. You read, as Johnny read in our scripture reading today, it almost, and I guess Jesus did chastise Mary a little bit. Now, when he said woman, he wasn't being disrespectful. He was using a term that was a term of endearment in a way, the way that it was translated, the way that he used it. He wasn't being disrespectful, but saying, what in the world were you bothering me with? He was trying to prove a point. And by the way, there is no indication given, at least in the scriptures, that Mary expected something miraculous. If this was his first miracle, which it may have not been, Mary wouldn't have had an inkling. But she knew, Jesus is here. That's my boy. And if anybody can do anything about it, he can. And so Jesus came, when it said Jesus, he didn't say, well, I'm not going to do anything. If I do anything, people are going to start knowing who I am. If I do anything, people are going to start plotting to kill me. If I do anything, I'm really going to be in trouble. And so what Jesus did was he rose to the occasion. Even though his time had not come. And the time there is not what you see on your watch. The time there is when it came time for him to prove that he was the Son of God. This wasn't it. Again, because when he started doing the miracles, and you remember that he cautioned a lot of people, don't tell people that I did this. Why? Because as his fame spread, so did the hatred of the people for him. And that's why when he raised Lazarus from the dead, that was the final straw for the Pharisees and the Sadducees and the Jewish leaders. But Jesus rose to the occasion, and even if the time was not right, he did what was needed. A lot of times we may put off people, helping people, because the time's not right. Well, if there's a need and we can fulfill it, maybe we can get the time right in our head and do what it says. Okay, let's move along. Be willing to act if needed. Well, that we talked about that. Be willing to be used for whatever purpose to glorify God, like the water pots were. What did the text say the water pots were for? They were for the purification ritual. Remember, the Jews, they had this thing about being pure. If they weren't pure physically, as far as being washed and things of this nature, they could not worship on the Sabbath. And so, that's what the pots were for. They probably had a pool that the pots had water put in them and were stored in that pool, and the bathing would take place in that pool. Well, here's these water pots. They're sitting over there. They're empty right now. And Jesus said, you see those water pots over there? Go fill them up. And the water pot said, oh, we're not made for this purpose. We are to hold the ceremonial water. But they were used for the purpose of glorifying God. I've never in my time as a preacher said, you know, I can't go out here and help pick up trash on the church building lawn, or I can't come to a work day and everything because I'm the preacher. I've given a lot of people time to laugh. Some of you probably laughed at me on work days. I don't know it, but shame on you. I remember getting up on the roof at DeSoto. We were putting the roof on there, and when it came down, I started scooting down. Did the same thing at Corning. And I was notorious in both places of scooting down the roof because I didn't like to get up and walk down the roof. Well, that's all right. I got down. And so we need to be willing to do what we can do for the purpose of God. Be willing to work for the purpose of God. And then we need to realize that Jesus saves the best for last. They came to the guy that was the head man, you know, and that was really in charge of the feast. And they started coming to him, and started coming to the guy that gave the feast and said, you know, a lot of times you do the best, you know, first, so people will get that, and when they're well drunk, you know, they're not, but said, you waited and you gave the best at the last. That's the way Jesus does. Jesus gives us the best. And folks, the best for a child of God is heaven. The best is not yet come. The best is going to be the last. Think about that. I mean, we have in our Bible so much about heaven. And in the book of Revelation, heaven's out there. And you read about other things, heaven's out there. Jesus is going to go away from the Father. What did he tell the people? Heaven's out there. The best is not yet come. The best for the Christian is heaven. Jesus saves the best to last. The question I want to close with this morning are two questions. Number one, do you have the hope of heaven today? I want you to ask yourself that question right now. Do I have the hope of heaven today? If you're not a Christian, you don't have that hope. And if you went back into the world, and if you got out of the lives that we talked about this morning, Randy did an excellent job in 1 John. If you're walking in darkness again as a child of God, you don't have the hope of heaven. And this is the second place today. If not, why don't you come to Jesus today? If you need to come as we stand and sing, why don't you come?
Just as I am without one plea, but that thy blood was shed for me, and that thou didst me come to thee, O Lamb of God, I come. Just as I am and waiting God to rid my soul of one dark blot, to thee whose blood can cleanse each spot, O Lamb Thy riches healing of mine, yea, all I need in thee to find, O Lamb of God, I come, just as I am, thou wilt receive with welcome pardon cleanse relief, because thy promise I believe, O Lamb of God, I come, just as I am, thy love unknown has broken every